With Valorant moving into their 5th pro season, officially marking themselves as a mainstay in the esports scene, a new game filled with some of the biggest pop culture figures has bursted onto the scene, and are already looking to take a foothold in the hero shooter genre, as Marvel Rivals looks to build on the top of the burning rubble of Overwatch, and revive this type of game for an esports audience.
Down immediately goes Hogs as he gets pulled up. Well done there by.
So I wanted to dive into this game and see if there's any possibility for this game to succeed where Overwatch League failed spectacularly. The game is pretty simple, especially if you watched or played Overwatch before. It's a 6v6 third-person shooter, where you can pick one of the Marvel characters from the 3 different role types, which are tank, DPS, and healer. Of course, there are a lot more nuance within each character, as the DPSs are brawlers while others are snipers, and some healers have attacking ults and others have defensive ults. To really spice up comps though, there are also additional abilities when certain characters are teamed up together, like Squirrel Girl and Spider-Man on the same team give them a C ability that gives Squirrel Girl a web attack. This provides the game with a lot of unique comp ideas and can cause the meta to always be split between a few common comps, unlike Overwatch towards the end.
Good tracer player on Houston. It's Jake on the far. This combo's worked well for them before, but as soon as they see the defensive setup, they will just simply swap it away.
The objectives are pretty simple. It's either a payload game mode where one team tries to push the objective to the end while the other team tries to stop them. The other is a King of the Hill style game where your team needs to hold an objective longer than the other team to win. Pretty simple game modes that allow the game to be more focused on the characters rather than the map. To win a pro match right now, you need to win 3 out of the 5 games. And for a payload game mode, you just need to make it further than how far the other team moved it, if neither team gets the payload to the very end of the track. So overall, since the launch of the game, it has been loved by a large gaming audience, even causing me to be addicted to the game even though I never touched Overwatch before this. But games like this have been super popular with casual fans, sometimes struggle to build and maintain a consistent audience in esports. In Overwatch, they look to have a winning formula, a great and devoted player base, and a lot of sponsors and money to grow an esports league. But as we know, that wasn't enough. It wasn't just meta issues where tanks became the only viable characters for a while, or even an issue with Overwatch only streaming to one site, and not having the same streamer viewer base that has helped games like League of Legends and Valorant become so popular outside of their official streams.
Yay, outnumbered.
GG, wow.
The real issue why it ended up struggling long term was it couldn't bring in fans to watch the esports that don't even play the game anymore. Something other games like League or CS see fans that no longer are interested in actually playing the game, but rather are interested in cheering on their team and kind of like traditional sports. This was something Overwatch never had because of a clear issue. Overwatch, like many other hero shooters before it, is really hard to spectate.
Nero proved me wrong again!
Are you serious, Nero? That was a massive anti.
Matches are chaotic group fight messes that if you weren't always thinking of everyone's positioning and abilities, you might get lost in it. So over time, the Overwatch League burned to the ground as there wasn't enough interest from the fans to support it and cause sponsors to return year after year to fund the league. So will Marvel Rivals be any different? So far, there have been some regional events and tournaments to bring in the new game and put a bold foot forward that esports will join the game early, with the official streams reaching over 10,000 concurrent viewers during some matches. And with the game so far not looking insanely unbalanced, even though metas are quickly taking shape, the game is diverse enough and seems to be just slightly easier for new players to follow than Overwatch, as long as you're a Marvel fan, there's a general idea of what these iconic characters can do. Like, of course, Spider-Man is going to be a lighter fighter class that has greater movement abilities. When viewers jump on a live stream of a pro game, they'll know this right away, rather than having an issue of like how to understand what this Fox girl does in Overwatch. So that could be easier to keep viewers watching and allow them to understand the different characters easier, especially as patches come in and tweaks happen to the heroes. To add on to the pluses this game has over its predecessor, it seems that while the team behind the game will probably put together official events and tournaments to provide the budding esports scene some support, they also seem like they'll let the community also build organically around fan-run events, rather than like in Overwatch where everything went through the Overwatch League.
San Francisco, this is huge! Unbelievable! Soul Dynasty, say thank you very much!
This possible combination of the two different types of events could provide the game both the structure of support needed, with enough flexibility that homegrown players will sprout from these community-run events, and give the game a lot more player and roster excitement, especially as more and more established esports orgs like NRG dip their toes into the scene.
So NRG
setting up with a dive comp of their own. This time it's
down goes J3, down goes Funk, down goes We the People. NRG is just absolutely stomping right now.
But I do see there being a major pitfall. The team behind the game, NetEase, hasn't launched a game with a successful esports scene, as they primarily have worked on mobile games like Marvel Duel, or helped with some grunt work like Diablo Immortal.
You guys not have phones?
Yeah, you guys all have phones, right?
They have done MMOs before and interacted with other big studios that have done it already, but on their own history, they've not been able to do it. As we know, very few studios can pull it off and sustain an esport for any sort of time, so with next to no experience in this space, Marvel Rivals are in danger of being mismanaged and dying out. Only staying alive in tiny pockets of online gamers who set up monthly tournaments for really small prize pools. That being said, with the amount of fun so many players have been having with this game, it seems insane that they wouldn't be able to at least maintain some sort of organized esport for at least a couple years, especially as there's so many new Marvel characters that can be added into the game and give the game a boost of interest pretty much indefinitely, like with Mr. and Mrs. Fantastic being introduced in this season. And skin purchases should provide the studio and publisher enough monetary incentive to continue to support the game, no matter if the esport is all that popular or not, since casual players will be supporting the scene whether they care about it or not, as they go and buy the newest Squirrel Girl costume for Ranked. So while there's still so much time for Marvel Rivals to figure out their esport, thanks to the good grace they have gained from fans due to the game being addictive, I still believe they need to start launching a clear and structured esport with both regional events, and I would say some sort of international event by the end of this year. If they just sit back and just focus on the game becoming bigger or more fleshed out in 2025 without any real effort to build a recognizable events and tournaments that will happen in the years to follow, they will not take advantage of the first-time players of the game like myself, who, while I enjoy the game, I know I won't be playing this game for years to come. Instead, by the end of 2025, I will either turn into just an esports / content watcher of the game rather than an actual player, like many others do over time. If no clear esport is created that will create interesting storylines between teams and highlight player journeys that get people to follow them each year, then why would I ever care about Marvel Rivals again, even if they start ramping up the esports side for real next year? While they have time to figure it out, that time closes up really quickly, especially as the core game expands and the meta needs to be rebalanced and new content is needed to be added to keep people engaged. If they don't start building engaging and continuous stories on the esports side pretty quickly, I believe that Marvel Rivals will be able to have a modest esport but will never grab the same attention as Overwatch, since enough people have been burned by their experience.
It comes to an end. The Apex Predators stand at the Apex now.
Of course, I'd love to be proven wrong and Marvel Rivals to take off, as I really enjoyed the game and I'd be glad to see another studio other than Riot have a recent esports success, as I would love for Riot to have more competition and gamers to have more choices in their esports viewing going forward, especially since we've seen a recent long string of failed ones since Valorant. But hey, if the esport looks noteworthy, I'll definitely be covering it, so make sure you subscribe as well. I've been primarily making Valorant videos. I'm going to be finally staying true to the channel name and adding more esports into the mix as the year moves on.